Folks, I normally have a rule, and that rule is to try to stay on subject. And I'm going to violate that rule and kind of move all over the place in this particular video. Now, I went to church on Sunday, and the pastor of the church was out, I guess on vacation or away, and he had a substitute come in to preach the sermon for him. And I can't tell you how dissatisfied I was at the sermon he preached, because he was all over the place. Now, in most churches that I've gone to, when they're giving a sermon, they always state the subject of the sermon and give you a Bible verse or two or three or four, and then go into their sermon. This particular Sunday, we went through and basically an entire chapter in one of the books of the Bible, and I'm not even going to go any further on that one. But again, I say that to say that I like to stay on topic, but there's been so much going on that I don't believe that I can. Now, you see, the word America. America's been here for quite a while. And at the formation of America, the word America, there are 4 letters in there that you cannot separate out and still have America. Those letters are R, A, C, E, race. Race has been here since the formation of America. Race is here today, and it will only be when the name of America is changed that possibly, I'm not even going to say probably, but possibly, race may no longer be an issue. Now, I'm not holding my breath for them or those who can to change the name America. And you should not either, because in our lifetimes and in the lifetimes of our children, that probably is never going to happen. So now, with that being understood, RACE needs to be addressed. And those who are closet racists need to have lights shined upon them. Now, I say that because certain people on the right, and there are those on the left as well, don't get me wrong, you got some racists that are Democrats, you know, undercover, and in the dark of the night, they will expound on their own racist ideas. But they keep it under shade pretty much. Whereas the Republicans feel that they now have license to do as they will. Now, I say that because of a particular person who currently occupies the White House. And this person does not miss an opportunity to draw attention and to inflame the racial passions within this country. I say that because There are all kinds of terrorists. There are black terrorists, brown terrorists, and white terrorists. But it seems to me, and to others, I might add, that when it's a question of white terrorism, i.e., the person who shot up that Las Vegas parking lot where a show was being performed, for whatever reason, this administration chose to soft pedal it. The head of this country chose to give comforting comments to the people of Las Vegas. But when a similar and not so similar circumstance arose within the past 2 days in New York, and a person of, let us say, brown skin caused or performed a terrorist act, it was not 4 hours before this administration jumped in with both feet with all the vinegar and brimstone that can be imagined. Now all of a sudden, the people in New York, and specifically the senior senator in New York, Chuck Schumer, comes under attack because of immigration policies that were created on a bipartisan basis and signed off by a Republican president, President Bush. But for whatever reason, this administration chose to attack this person and, in my opinion, people of color. But that's par for the course for him. I draw your attention to the maniacs, the racists, the inflamers of the right on a channel known as Fox. And I had the opportunity to catch a couple of, I'll call them episodes because they're shows, they're productions, they're not really news. One in particular was an interview given by John Kelly, who is the chief of staff for the President of the United States. Now, Mr. Kelly, if you're not aware of it, is a racist, plain and simple. He's a racist and he's a liar. Now, I don't know if he's always been that way, but I know since he has entered this administration, the Trump effect has definitely had an impact on him, because he now appears to have no problem in lying, and in particular lying on a black woman that is the House of Representative member out of Florida, Frederica, I believe I'm not sure what her last name is, but anyway. And when it was proven that his statements were erroneous, instead of doing the honorable thing and apologizing, he in fact doubled down, and that cow, that fat pig, Sarah Huckabee, decides that she is going to put up a rabid defense and make a statement that because he's a 4-star general that he should not be questioned. Well, that's a bunch of bullshit. But I digress. Mr. Kelly went on Fox and had the audacity to claim that the Civil War, which was fought over slavery, could have been avoided if people had merely compromised. Well, I got a question. What was the compromise that he would have made? Because in my mind, and in the mind of those that fought in the war on both sides, this country was either going to be one that permitted slavery or it didn't. I failed to see where there could be compromise as far as that's concerned. Now, apparently, he must have missed his 5th and 6th grade history classes because he seemed to have forgotten that the original compromise was at the beginning of the formation of this country, when a classification of black people had to be determined. And the compromise was that black people would be counted as 3/5 of a human being. Now, the last time I checked, you're either 100% human being or you're not. And I have yet to see anything or anyone that is either human or part human. That particular creature does not exist. So that compromise was doomed to failure. But I'm still wondering what compromise Mr. Kelly, with all of his knowledge and all the hindsight of history, what compromise he would have proposed that would have been satisfactory to all parties concerned. Anything short of freedom for black people, as far as we're concerned, was unacceptable. Anything short of slavery, as far as the white plantation owners in the South, landowners in the South, was unacceptable. Where was the compromise? Where could there be compromise? Honestly, there couldn't. But for whatever reason, Mr. Kelly wants to put out the thought that the Civil War did not have to occur if only there had been compromise. Well, folks, I'm here to tell you, no on the compromise. Some things you cannot compromise on. Some things are of such a moral nature that there can be no compromise. One of those things is black people's rights to exist and be afforded all of the rights that every non-black citizen is afforded. There can be no compromise on that. Yet we see day in and day out how white men, and in some cases white women together, as their helpmates, seek to deny the rights of black and brown people across the board. I direct you to the actions of the state of North Carolina as far as voting rights are concerned. I direct you to the states of Texas, Wisconsin as well, in regard to voting rights, I even direct you to the state of New York, where a large number of people living in the borough of Brooklyn were denied their right to vote. They were purged off of the voting rolls. And that was just recently discovered. Compromise in some things is a powerful and a useful tool in order for an accord to be reached. But sometimes you basically have to go out on your shield because you just have to do the right thing. Now, I hope going forward that there are more people of good conscience who recognize that race has been here, race is here, race will be here, and that a way must be found in order to bring the races together in harmony. But again, I'm not holding out a lot of hope at this point, only because people who are in power cling to power and seek not to give up power. And the only way that they can maintain power is to create a divide. And the easiest divide to create is one of race.